To be born a princess is to be born into a life of unbelievable privilege. But for Princess Beatrice, that birthright has twisted into a gilded cage, presenting her with an impossible choice that could very well shatter the royal family. A line has been drawn in the sand, and Beatrice is standing at the edge, forced to pick a side, her father or her future. This is the story of how one woman's loyalty is facing the ultimate test, and how her decision could forever change the monarchy. It's a choice no daughter should ever have to make, but it's now her public burden, and the consequences of her actions, or her inaction, are monumental. The institution has made its move. Now, the world is watching to see what Beatrice does next as she navigates the fallout from her father's shocking arrest and the brutal exclusion that followed. Before the storm finally broke, Princess Beatrice of York held a very unique position in the royal world. As the granddaughter of the late Queen Elizabeth II, she had the title of princess and the status of Her Royal Highness, but she wasn't a working royal. This gave her a sense of normalcy that's almost unheard of for someone born so close to the throne. She built a career in the private sector, working her way up to become the vice president of strategic partnerships at the software company Affinity. She was a professional, a wife, and a mother. Her family, the Yorks, have always put on a famously united front. Even after her parents, Andrew Mountbatten Windsor and Sarah Ferguson, divorced, the family stayed unusually close, often living together at the Royal Lodge in Windsor and appearing in photos. Beatrice and her younger sister, Eugenie, were seen as the quiet, loyal daughters who gracefully handled their parents' public scandals in the 90s. Beatrice, especially, was known for her fierce loyalty to her father. Their bond was clear, visible, and seemed absolutely unbreakable. In 2020, Beatrice married property developer Edoardo Mapelli Mazzi, a man she'd known for years through family friends. They built a life together with their daughter, Sienna, and Edoardo's son, Wolfie, far from the glare of Buckingham Palace in a sprawling farmhouse in the Cotswolds. It was the picture of a modern, blended family, a life that balanced royal duties with personal freedom. She would attend major royal events to support her cousins and her uncle, King Charles, but then she would retreat back to her own world. This delicate balance, however, depended on one critical thing: keeping her father's scandals contained. The shadow of his connection to Jeffrey Epstein had loomed for years, but it always felt like a distant storm. Just weeks before that storm finally hit in 2026, Beatrice was photographed on a carefree horseback ride with her father and her daughter. At the time, it was just a sweet picture of a grandfather, a daughter, and a granddaughter enjoying a simple day out. In hindsight, that photo now looks like a grave miscalculation, the last moment of a life that was about to be changed forever. It was a poignant snapshot of the before, a testament to a loyalty that was about to become her greatest liability. The fantasy that this crisis could be managed was shattered at dawn on February 19, 2026. On his 66th birthday, Andrew Mountbatten Windsor was arrested by British police at a home on the Sandringham estate. The charge was suspicion of misconduct in public office. This wasn't just another bad headline. It was a seismic event, the kind the monarchy hadn't witnessed in centuries. The last time a senior royal was arrested was reportedly in the 17th century. The investigation was focused on allegations that Andrew had passed confidential government documents to Jeffrey Epstein while he was serving as a UK trade envoy. The arrest was the climax of years of public fury and scrutiny that followed his disastrous 2019 BBC Newsnight interview and the steady drip of incriminating documents about his friendship with the convicted sex offender. King Charles III, who had already stripped his brother of his royal titles and kicked him out of the 31-room Royal Lodge in late 2025, released a shockingly direct statement: the law must take its course. The palace's protective shield hadn't just been lowered, it had been completely dismantled. For Princess Beatrice, the news was a bombshell that dropped while she was far away. Just hours before her father was taken into custody, she was spotted on a quiet ski vacation in Gstaad, Switzerland, with her husband Edoardo and their children. She was trying to keep a low profile, to find a moment of peace from the storm brewing back home. But there was no escape. The arrest turned her father from a disgraced royal into an accused criminal, and in doing so, it dragged his entire family into the center of the crisis. The fallout was no longer something Beatrice could manage from the sidelines. It was coming for her directly. Standing by him was no longer a simple matter of family loyalty. It was now a question of aligning herself with a man under police investigation for abusing his office to help a notorious pedophile. The gilded cage had just slammed shut. The monarchy's institutional response was swift, cold, and brutal. Andrew Mountbatten Windsor's arrest wasn't seen as one man's downfall, but as a contagion that had to be contained at all costs. His daughters, Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie, suddenly found themselves reclassified as part of that contagion. Almost immediately, the palace began drawing a hard line, not just around Andrew, but around his children, too. The message from the top was crystal clear. The institution's survival comes before any and all family ties. The most public and humiliating example of this new reality was the decision to ban Beatrice and Eugenie from Royal Ascot. For the royal family, Ascot is more than a horse race. It's a core part of the royal summer. The daily royal procession, where senior royals arrive in horse-drawn carriages, is a key symbol of the monarchy's stability. The sisters were informed they wouldn't be in that procession, nor would they be welcome in the royal box. This wasn't a polite request to keep a low profile. It was a public excommunication from one of the crown's most visible events. Reports quickly surfaced that Beatrice was completely blindsided and was taking the news the hardest. After years of dutifully showing up, she was now an outcast. Behind this move was a chilling calculation being made at the very top. The future king, Prince William, was reportedly a key force behind the York sisters' exclusion. Sources claimed William's position had hardened dramatically after Andrew's arrest, and he had advised senior royals to avoid being photographed with Beatrice and Eugenie for the rest of the year. This wasn't just about optics, it was a social deep freeze. Traditionally, those in the Ascot carriage procession stay at Windsor Castle the night before and have dinner with the king. With William's directive, having them there became impossible. He was acting to protect the long-term health of the brand he's destined to lead, and that meant amputating any part of the family seen as toxic by association. The palace's decision was complicated even further by the release of the Epstein files which, while not implicating the sisters in any crime, did mention them. Records showed their mother, Sarah Ferguson, had taken them to lunch with Epstein shortly after his release from prison, with Epstein reportedly paying for the flight. This, along with Andrew's habit of including his daughters in photos and communications, painted a picture of a family that had moved a little too comfortably in Epstein's world. For the palace, that was enough. The sisters were no longer innocent bystanders. They were part of the York wreckage. They were collateral damage in a war to save the monarchy's reputation, the first casualties of a new, ruthless era of institutional survival. The title of this story, Beatrice's Move to Ban Prince Andrew from Her Life, is a bit misleading. It suggests she took a proactive, decisive step to cut ties with a toxic father. But the reality is far more complicated and heartbreaking. The ban isn't something she's choosing, but something that's being forced on her by the cold mechanics of the monarchy and the harsh new realities of her life. She's at a crossroads where every single path leads to a devastating loss. The main ultimatum is coming from the institution she was born into. If she wants any kind of future in the slimmed-down monarchy, even just as a non-working royal who shows up for family events, she has to create a visible, undeniable distance from her father. The loyalty that was once her defining trait is now a liability the palace won't tolerate. Any gesture of support, any public appearance together, would be seen as defying the new world order. The palace has forced her to choose a relationship with her father or a relationship with the rest of her family and the institution that defines her. She's being told to effectively ban her own father from her public life, or risk being banned herself. This institutional pressure is being matched by an intensely personal one, the unprecedented strain on her marriage. Her husband, Edoardo Mapelli Mazzi, isn't just a spouse. He's a man with his own reputation and an Italian aristocratic family to think about. Sources report that his family is beside themselves and furious that their name is being dragged into the York scandal, terrified it could damage their business and social standing. Eduardo, a successful property developer, has been noticeably absent at times. He took a solo work trip to Florida just days before Andrew's arrest, where his social media was all about art and industry events. This distance has fueled reports that he's ill-equipped to handle the emotional yo-yo of Beatrice's family crisis and is desperate to separate his business from the scandal. The pressure from her husband mirrors the pressure from the palace. Protect the reputation, create distance, and move on. Sources even suggest Eduardo has been trying to pull Beatrice away from her parents and the royal family in general, convinced she needs to build her own life far from the drama. This leaves Beatrice utterly alone. She is reportedly distraught, with some sources claiming she bursts into tears as she tries to process her new reality. Her sister, Eugenie, is said to be taking a harder line and is reportedly not on speaking terms with their father, leaving Beatrice to navigate this emotional minefield by herself. She allegedly made a secret visit to see Andrew at his new, more modest home on the Sandringham estate, a move that just highlights her desperation to keep a connection while under immense pressure to cut it. This is the impossible choice she faces. Does she obey the silent command from the palace and the implicit demands of her husband by cutting off her father? Or does she follow her heart, support the man who raised her, and risk losing her marriage and her place in the only world she's ever known? What do you think Princess Beatrice should do? Is the palace right to force such a difficult choice? Or is family loyalty more important than royal duty? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you're interested in more deep dives into the dramas of the royal family, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next video. Princess Beatrice is standing on a cliff edge, a princess in exile inside her own family. The fall of her father has cast a long, dark shadow that now threatens to swallow her entire life. On one side is her past, a deep, daughterly loyalty to a man now facing the full force of the law, a man she has loved her entire life. On the other side is her future, her marriage, her children's stability, and whatever connection she has left to the royal institution that is her birthright. There might be one tiny, unexpected silver lining in all of this. Her father's eviction from Royal Lodge means that Beatrice and Eugenie will no longer inherit the magnificent, but now scandal-tainted, estate. Sources suggest they are secretly relieved, as this frees them from the massive financial burden of its upkeep and, more importantly, severs a major tie to the scandal's epicenter. It's a small bit of freedom in a story of profound confinement. But the fundamental question remains: can Beatrice successfully build a life that honors both her heart and the crown? Or is she doomed to be forever defined by her father's sins, a minor figure pushed to the very margins of royal life? The palace has made its move, drawing a line that forces a choice between a father and a future. Now, as the world watches, Princess Beatrice has to decide